Hey, OSINTers, welcome back to Ask Cynthia. So this week is a fun one and an important one, and I'm super appreciative of the new OSINTer we have that asked me this particular question because it's near and dear to my heart. It's about thinking and reading and resources and tools. I found that this is something I call feeding the hungry OSINT mind. The problem is a new OSINTer just graduated the OSINT Academy from our Foundations of OSINT course. It's an 8-week program. And I've noticed throughout the entire course, and he continues to be insatiably hungry for new content and new information. He's always looking to grow, which is so enriching, and it gives me great enthusiasm to get behind a professional like this because, this is the kind of person I'll see 10 years from now that'll be leading teams like this, not just entering the market today, but will be a program director or a director of Intel, or who knows, even a VP. So his very specific question was, what resources do I recommend for someone trying to increase their knowledge on geopolitical events? Mm, Hold on one second. I'm not just going to give you a bunch of websites to go visit and podcasts to listen to and books to read. I'm going to stop you in this moment and tell you to use your Curl methodology, communicate, research, analyze, write, and listen. And first ask yourself, what are you trying to learn about geopolitical events? And I'll go all the way back to let's engage with opposing viewpoints. See, even before I was an Intel analyst and an owner of this place, this place of the Hetherington Group, I was a librarian. I am a librarian. So I'll always stop and ask, what is the purpose of your request? Understanding geopolitical events. Is it because you're a threat analyst and you need to know what's coming my way because my executives or my assets are going into a certain country? Do you really just want to know the big landscape of things? It's because you have to write a paper. Like, what's your end goal here to understand something better? And it's not because we're always trying to pull you down into the agora where the Greeks sat there and argued their viewpoints and their ideas, and Marcus Aurelius was writing his meditations, but Laertes was saying, look, Zeno just told me this. See, I'm throwing some early Greek in there. The reason I bring that up is because you have very little time to get a lot of impact to an audience that has a small lens to read or see anything. We do not have the vast capability or time to ingest, 80-page documents anymore. We have 5 minutes and a TikTok mentality to pull in a certain facts and make decisions based on that. It's probably why we enjoy op-ed news and media so much because someone else is telling us what to think. And I don't mean to discredit the people who are out there producing this content or the reader or person who's ingesting this information to say, like, you can't think for yourself. But you appreciate when you have someone who's like-minded in your mindset telling you good information. It's one of the reasons we like ChatGPT so much, is because it validates what our thoughts are. We spit in a question or, type in a question, and it gives us back something that sounds a lot like us. So like, likes, like the self-licking ice cream cone, all those metaphors tell us that you're reading something that gives you a sense of comfort. Therefore, you are feeling authoritative and taking back that response and saying, yes, this is a good answer. You got to go in the uncomfortable zone. Books that we handed out in the public library, is 20 years ago, 30 years ago, gosh, 40 years ago, is still out there. Opposing Viewpoints by Greenhaven Press. We take a topic like abortion, climate change, transgender, and it would give you two viewpoints from two vetted resources. And by vetted, I mean people who actually have been qualified to speak on a topic and not someone with a TikTok account and a lot of likes, but an actual professional who would have socioeconomic, behavioral, whatever, largesse behind them to say what they thought. And you would read that, but then you would read the other side. and you would say, well, what does this guy have to say that this guy didn't say? And would give you some really good perspectives, and it would open your mind. I find, and this is in my opinion, when I have to get on calls with, whether it's my colleagues or in group sessions or on board calls, and I'm hearing from somebody I don't like personally, or I don't value their opinion because they come from a different side of the neighborhood than I did, I always walk away with something I learned. Great lesson I picked up back in grad school. I sat in a classroom and this woman disagreed with me on a topic. This was probably library school. And I thought, well, who are you to say that? You don't come from my background. You don't have my experience. You don't value my same values. And I mean, this is decades ago. I still remember the actual emotion. I don't even remember what the argument about was, but I remember the actual emotion I felt when she changed my mind. And I thought, this is going to be one of those moments I talk about years from now. And I value that. I value that experience. I value her courage to come against me. I'm a very strong, intellectual boss lady. I know the seat I sit in, and I carry that authority like a crown of thorns. And I will stand up for people who maybe aren't as vocal or as seen as I can be because I don't care anymore. Because I was that wilting wallflower in the back at one point and realized I'll get nowhere until I start voicing what I have to say. But that doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't does not mean I'm the final. Just because you call me the OG doesn't mean I got it right. And I love opposing viewpoints. I expect to get those here and even in this little Ask Cynthia. But on that note, I will encourage anyone, opponent or like-minded individual, get two varying opinions on where you think those thoughts, ideas, or news and media are coming from. Watch them both and respect that both of them are coming from their own seat, and that'll be fine. And you will be able to be grown up and make your own decisions. So I'm going back to what resources did my colleague want to know that I was going to recommend for geopolitical events? And pretty much it's the anything and the everything. Coming down to the actual specifics, I read newspapers every day, like actual printed newspapers. Well, partly because I like crossword puzzles and you could sit there with my pens and write in my little answers and use words like agora and know what it means. But I also get my local newspaper and I watch local news media because I care about what's happening in the, 20 miles that I live in. And no one's going to care about that and give me facts and details as quickly as my local press. For the intelligence community and for the economic world in which I have to work and deal with, I'm reading everyday intelligence online. It's an expensive online platform, intelligenceonline.com. This is not an endorsement of them because they're very expensive and they're printed and published out of France. But they get insights on corporate intelligence that I can't find otherwise. I also like reading Cranes, the Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal, all the financial, and I get Business Insider every day because it gives me both interesting introspection on what finance and the economy is looking like from the financial technology, pharmaceutical supply chain, and all those communities that I serve, but also just kind of some hindsight as to what's going on and how businesses are reacting to it and what's being said internally at these companies that I might not have access to. All those are pretty much on my reading list every day. I do put aside a good 90 minutes to absorb new content on a daily basis. But again, bias is inherent in all things written, including what I'm giving to you. And understanding and having a discerning mind is definitely what is going to serve you most at the end. I hope you enjoyed this and I look forward to your next question. Oh, a fun little add-on. What else? What am I actually reading today? What book am I reading? Because I gave you a bunch of books on Stoicism in the article. I'm actually reading again The Prince by Machiavelli. Uh, Boring, frankly, but very insightful in today's times. And again, looking at what the markets are doing and how taking advantage of your neighbor might be something that's seen as prowess and not as aggression. And then secondly, which again is just an idea, a thought, all right? But I'm also reading about the Borgias of early Roman uh, Pope Alexander the Sixth is what Borgia turned into. And there's actually been a lot of Netflix shows and TV out around that family, but it was interesting to see also how they moved and progressed. And that is a really good book. So for any of these book titles and more interesting reading, be aware. I'm always happy to answer your questions. Drop them in our little DM, and I will catch you on the other side.